appreciate it. So good evening. As I mentioned, I'm Anthony Cocciolo, Dean of the School of Information here at Pratt Institute. Thank you for heading on over to meet and to get to know a little bit about our programs. So tonight I was going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about our school, a little bit about our programs. I'll take questions from the room. We'll go ahead and do a brief tour of the facility. And if you have more questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions you have. So just a little bit about the School of Information here at Pratt. We are indeed the oldest information school in North America. Our roots trace back to 1890 when the founder of Pratt Institute, Charles Pratt, who you see here, created not only Pratt Institute, but he also created a series of libraries that were available to the public in Brooklyn. And we've really existed ever since. We spent most of our life on the Brooklyn campus and starting in the basement of the main building on the Brooklyn campus, and then eventually moving here to Pratt Center in 2002. So a little bit about us. We're very much these days motivated by our vision and mission. This is our vision statement, as well as our mission statement. And one of the things that you find in our vision statement is that in School of Information here at Pratt is very much about making connections between information and art, culture, and design. So thank you, sir. So that's one of the ways that we're a little bit different than some of the other information schools. We're not really big science, or we're more kind of doing making connections between the information field and art, culture, and design. So that's a little bit about us. In terms of who we are, we're about 60 faculty. There's about 14 full-time faculty and about 50 some odd part-time faculty. So the full-time faculty, they're primarily researchers, scholars in their fields, and they they act as advisors to students as well. And then we have our part-time faculty who are often teach with us at night, and they're all variety of different professions, librarians, archivists, UX designers, researchers, and they come here to teach at night. One of our busiest times for classes is at 6:30, so we have many of the part-time faculty kind of heading in right now and getting their classes ready to go. And many of our full-time faculty are probably on their way home. But before getting into specific programs, I did want to tell you a little bit about you just mentioned that these programs are really face-to-face programs. So all these programs are offered in person here at Pratt Manhattan Center. We have maybe one or two online courses, but there's really not much. And we were always a face-to-face program. We had to, during COVID, we had to do some online stuff, but for the most part, we're back to being pretty much almost 100% in person. So. And that's really because we do value face-to-face community and excellence in face-to-face teaching. So that's something that interests you. We're a good place for that. And in terms of classes, we do, as I mentioned, at 6:30 at night. That's our busiest time for classes. So this is great for people who might have a job or find that they need to get a job at some point. But we also do have classes running at both 11:30 and 3. So definitely. Pretty much throughout the day. So people, it's really up to you. So I did want to tell you a little bit about some of our specific programs. How many people here in the room or on Zoom are interested in our library and information science program? Almost everyone. So which one are you interested in? Data visual. Okay, data visual. Gotcha. All right. So yeah. So our folks in the room, we have a lot of library and information science folks. That's great. So this is indeed our oldest program. It really traces its roots back to 1890. We are the oldest information library science program in North America. We just completed, and I found out this on Friday, that we've been completely reaccredited by the American Library Association for another 7 years. So that's great. And one thing I was really happy about is that they it's louder than it seems. So I was noticing that too. It's like someone like scooping out scooping the Nutella out of the can. Yeah. Or, yeah, so this program's been accredited for over 100 years by ALA, which is really a great thing. As you can imagine, this program is really about training people to be librarians, archivists, people who manage information, develop services around information, to enhance communities and help collect information, provide access to it, preserve it, etc. This program is typically completed in 2 years. Typically, people will do 3 classes in the fall, 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, and then they're done. Most people don't take much in the summer. They might intern a bit in the summer. And it is, there's a 4-course core curriculum. Typically in that first semester, people will do courses like Foundations of Information, Knowledge Org, and Information Technology. This is kind of like course stuff that all librarians and archivists need to know about. And then from there, you have a wide range of electives you can take. So they need electives. And to help folks organize their electives, we do offer advanced certificates. These are kind of like minors. They kind of live within the 36 credit degree. And then we also have program concentrations, and these are more informal. So I would say, some of our popular advanced certificates are like our archive certificate. Many people come here to do that. And it's, definitely prepares people to become archivists. We have, other certificates in like children and young adult librarianship. This is really for people who want to work, say, at a public library, working with kids and teens. Then these program concentrations here are more informal, just to help surface things you might be interested in. I have a sign up sheet here. Which program are you interested in?
Oh,
all right, right on time. So I did just quickly mention that typically people complete this program in 2 years. They do a core curriculum. And then these are some of the ways that people concentrate in the program in terms of their specialties. We also do have a dual degree program. So these are for people who really want to get into art librarianship and become kind of experts at the intersection of art and information. And this is done with the Department of History of Art and Design based on the Brooklyn campus. And it's 60 credits, and it's typically completed over 3 years. But these are kind of the folks who really see themselves as being art librarians at, typically at kind of research universities. So in terms of, what people do with this program once they graduate, these are just kind of a small smattering of the kinds of job titles we see. So shouldn't be anything surprising. Librarian, archivist, that's the kind of jobs we typically see. And in terms of where the types of organizations people go and work at, we see a lot of museums, historical societies, public libraries, colleges, universities, publishing, some companies, artist studios and artist foundations, nonprofits. In terms of the program, people are generally very much satisfied with it. So from our graduating student survey, so this past May, we had almost every graduating student respond to it, and they said they would recommend the program to 94% said they recommend the program to a friend, colleague, or family member, and 94% are employed when we survey them 9 months after graduation. So in general, it's people are pretty happy with the program. So that is like the very quick overview. I'm happy to I'll take questions kind of after I get through some of these other programs about, what people want to know about these programs. I know we have one person interested in the data analytics program. So the folks on Zoom are, I know we have a few people on Zoom. We have 11 people on Zoom. Are you guys, is anyone, raise your hand if you're interested in the information experience design program, or use the chat. Or the data program. Feel free to let me know which one you're interested in. Chat's going slow. All right, well, we could turn back to that. We know we have one person interested in data program. So I'll tell you a little bit about the data program. So what you'll see today is pretty much all of our programs are all pretty similar. Our master's programs, they're all 36 credits. They're typically completed in 3 years. Sorry, in 2 years, I'm so sorry, they're typically completed in 2 years. The way people will take 3 classes in the fall, 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, and they're done. So our data analytics and visualization program is really about preparing people to work with data, to tell interesting stories, to visualize data, to make maps, to analyze data. It's really a program that pulls in knowledge from a variety of areas, from statistics, computer programming, design, really with this idea that you're creating compelling data products. I would say the library and information science program is really about managing data, like collecting it, managing it, helping other people use it. This program is really more about using data, where it's less so about managing, but more about using it. People in this program will typically do this core curriculum. There's a core class that everyone takes at the school, and then there's a set of electives. Course on information visualization, computer programming for Python, and then a data analysis course. This is kind of our second semester statistics course that people take. We do have a kind of an intro to statistics that people who don't have much of a stats background are required to take. And then from there is a wide range of electives you can take in terms of doing more stuff in data. We ask people to do one more class in data analysis, one more in data visualization, one more in data UX. That's user experience. And then there's a wide range of electives after that, 15 credits of electives you can take beyond that. And we're always creating new stuff for this program, like some popular ones we have for this program are like machine learning, which is taught by an Amazon, someone who works for Amazon, or he might have actually moved over to Google, who does machine learning over at Google. The other ones that you would maybe suspect, like spatial statistics for GIS. This is kind of interesting where it's using statistics with mapping data. And you might ask, like, why is that valuable? Like, for example, we have an alum of this program who is working with a company that consults to retail clients like Old Navy, and they help them with where do you put your retail store, that kind of stuff. And it's really basically a combination of statistics and mapping. So lots of, I would say mapping, like maps and GIS is a pretty strong aspect of this program. We have some really good faculty in that area. Within this program, you can do also an advanced certificate. These are kind of certificates that live within your 36 credit degree program. They're kind of like a minor. So spatial analysis and design, these are experience in digital humanities. Those are all certificates available. And I would say in terms of this program, in terms of student feedback, they're also very happy with the program. It's a much smaller program in the LIS program. We had 8 students graduate, and pretty much all of them were happy with the quality of the program. They found the curriculum to be up to date. They would recommend it to a friend, family member, or colleague. So that is something we are really happy about. In terms of where people go off and work after this program, this is some of the kinds of job titles we see. Things that should make quite a lot of sense. And in terms of where people work, we see kind of more of a mixed bag in terms of kind of some commercial, some kind of governmental nonprofit. So with the library and information science program, it heavily leans towards the kind of nonprofit sector, colleges, universities, libraries. With this program, we do see kind of more of a mix. Some people want to do more governmental kinds of work, and other nonprofits, and other people want to do more commercial, and that's totally fine. So that's the quick rundown on our data analytics and visualization program. So I know in the room we don't have anyone interested in the information experience design program, but maybe some folks on Zoom are interested in this program. If you are, you can just put a thumbs up or a chat or. Oh, there, we got it. Yes. All right, I will talk about this program. Yes, I see the chat is lighting up. Thank you so much. It's like back in the Zoom days where we have or back in the pandemic days where you're like, people here. But yes, thank you for letting me know you're here. Yeah, so this program I would say is also another one of these 2-year 36 credit programs, and this is really kind of our UX program. It's for both people who want to be UX designers and UX researchers. And these are really the kinds of people who are putting together, working to develop user interfaces. And that's pretty much anything between the computer and the human. So that user interface in many cases is a GUI, maybe it's a phone. but it could be other things like conversational interfaces, so like these talking interfaces, Amazon, Alexa, and Siri, like that's an interface, the computer interface. And so we do have folks working on things like that in this program, working on those conversational interfaces. And this is a program really for, you don't need a tech background, you don't need a design background. And what we do say about this program is it's really quite a bit different than some of these kind of boot camps. You might see these like UX boot camps out there where it's like, oh, become a UX designer in 3 weeks or whatever. But like the other programs, these are intensive 2-year master's programs, graduate programs where you'll learn both the knowledge and skills to be a UX designer or researcher, but you're also going to be encountering creative, critical, and ethical challenges as well. The program is typically completed like the other ones in 2 years, 3 credits, 3 courses in the fall, 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. And in this program, people will do a core curriculum in the area of information architecture, interaction design, usability theory, information technology. We do require ethics and social responsibility elective, which is an area of increased concern as the tech industry has grown in importance over the last 10 years, really. And then there's a wide range of electives available in this program. So this is kind of the electives list where it's kind of overwhelming. But and we're always creating new electives courses for this program. So some of the more popular ones we've created in recent years I can think of here are like sustainable, well, I wouldn't say it's popular, but it's like sustainable interaction design, right? So I'm thinking about sustainability when we design our interfaces, or extended reality UX for AR and VR. So this is really about folks wanting to do think about the user experience for people with the headsets doing AR and VR, other things that people are interested in stuff. And we have some very niche courses as well, like animals and experience design. This is really about what are the computer interfaces between animals and computers, which turns out there's a lot of ecological kinds of ways you can use computers, such as getting animals into various environments or having them avoid birds flying into buildings and so forth, using sensors and so forth. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff. UX design systems, that's a popular one. Advanced projects in UX, advanced usability. These are students who are doing eye tracking studies with the mobile interfaces or desktop interfaces. So, you're watching where people's eyes go to. Because if people can't find, people's eyes don't know where to look, it could be an indication there's something wrong, right? So if someone's eyes going to the wrong part of the web page, it's kind of it's a sign something might be wrong, right? So anyways, in this program, it is typically completed. There's 2 areas of focus. Folks can focus in on design, as I mentioned, or research and evaluation. Folks in this program do focus either as a designer or a research and evaluation person. I would say that in this program you'll do both design and research, but what we find is students, as they get more advanced, they realize they're better at one than the other, and so they start to gravitate more towards being a designer and more towards a researcher, and the person who's really studying people. So we certainly encourage that specialization. And these are some of the job titles you see associated with those different kind of tracks in the program. In terms of recent internships, we had a lot of people intern in this program, especially in their first summer and then throughout their whole second year. Much more commercial kinds of opportunities of both big tech as well as smaller tech startups. These are the kinds of job titles we see from people who go through this program, a mix of between designers and researchers, and then some of the employers you'll see as well. So we definitely see a lot of folks working in kind of big companies, financial services, especially with New York being a financial services hub, as well as some big tech as well. And then we also see smaller startups. In terms of this is our second biggest program, and it is so you can see in our graduating student survey from this past May, we have 57 students completed, and which is all of the students, and pretty much, I think, you're talking really 56 out of 57 people were really happy with the program in terms of the quality, the curriculum. And they would recommend the program to a friend, family member, or colleague. So those are all things we're super happy about. So that is the quick rundown on the IXD program. Our fourth and final program, do we have anyone interested in the museum's digital culture program? Anyone, museum studies, anyone want to be a museum professional? Anyone on Zoom? Going once. Going twice. All right, I will skip our dear beloved museums and digital culture program. Yeah, so then we also do have these standalone advanced certificates. These are certificates that you can do outside of a degree if you already have a master's degree in most cases. So I think you mentioned you're interested in archives. Are you interested in doing the whole MLS degree with the archive certificate, or?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, yeah. So yeah, so I would say our archive certificate is probably one of our most popular certificates, and most people who do it within the context of the 36 credit MLS degree. And although we do occasionally have one or two people who, already got an MLS degree, maybe they specialize in something else, and then they're coming back to, after some years to do the archive certificate. So the one thing since I know I have folks interested in archive certificate, typically, the way it works is you do our core curriculum in the LIS program, and then there's some required courses you have to do within the 36 credits. So management of archives and special collections. This is our core archives class. Gets into archival theory, and there's an element of archival practice in it as well. So typically that class, they'll start, opening up boxes and doing some archival processing, creating finding aids. Then we do require kind of more of a techie archives class dealing with either foreign digital collections or collections created through digitization. In one of these tech classes, 655 or 665, digital preservation curation or projects in digital archives. We do require folks to do the conservation and preservation course, so this gets into like materials and how the kind of issues around that, how to conserve and preserve them. Then from there, there's a wide range of electives you can take, such as you see here. Some of them are super archivesy, some of them are less so. I would say some of the super archivesy ones would be like archives appraisal, acquisition, and use. This is really about, how do you determine what goes into an archive? What is the process you use to make things, to designate certain records as having permanent value? And other ones that are super archivesy are, actually we have some new ones that are kind of in the are so new that they haven't been formalized and that are on this list. They're covered as a special topic, but for example, one that we're offering in the spring is called Archives and Art Making. And it's really about this intersection between artists and archives, and it's really kind of one of those courses that you probably only find at Pratt, but it is really about that kind of intersection of like working with artists, bringing artists into archives, and actually using archives to make art. We also do have a special topics course called Artist Archives from New York, where folks learn about artist archives both here in New York and in Rome. They spend spring break in Rome. So we have a group that's getting ready right now to head out to Rome. I have a little slide here I can show around that. So this is definitely one of these courses that you probably only really find at Pratt with our kind of specialization in the area of like art and archives and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's taught by Christina Pacciarelli. So it's going into its second year, so we're pretty excited about that. But yeah, that is like the quick rundown on the archive certificate. I would say also the final piece of the archive certificate that people do is we do require field work. And this program is aligned with the Society of American Archivists guidelines on graduate programs in archival studies. and they do require field work. And so we either ask people to do a 0 credit summer internship or a 3 credit internship in the fall or spring. So it's really kind of either one that works for you is fine. But yeah, we do require you to do the archival field work. So that is kind of the quick rundown on the archive certificate. So I'm going to go ahead and open up to questions in just a sec here, but I did want to quickly, and I'm happy to, zoom back out for a second, just talk about scholarships and admissions. So we do offer really significant scholarships. They can cover up to 50% of the cost of tuition. So when you apply, you're automatically considered for a scholarship. There's no separate form. These scholarships do require you to be a full-time student, though. Those do require that full-time is considered 3 courses a semester. Courses meet for 3 hours a week, once a week. So you would be in the classroom. To be a full-time student, you're basically in the classroom 9 hours a week. And as I mentioned, we do have classes that at night and during the day. I will say though, with the scholarships in your second year study, you can petition to keep your scholarship, and for some reason you have to drop down to part-time status. And that's fine. And the nice thing about these scholarships is they auto renew for the second year. So if you get, a $10,000 scholarship in year 1, that means you also get it in year 2. We also do offer this fellowship program, and this is also another really convenient thing that we have going on. And what it is that it's kind of like a paid internship program where we set up a project with a local institution to work on stuff that's relevant to your studies and relevant to the institution, and you get paid by Pratt to do it through a scholarship. And so we're working with a lot of Brooklyn organizations, Manhattan ones. So we're rolling out our fellowship program for next year in about 2 weeks. And we are increasing our number of fellowships. I think we're going up to 20 or 21 fellowships. And we're also reintroducing some ones that have been dormant for a while. So we're bringing back some UX fellowships with the Metropolitan Museum, which we're really happy about. We're doing some other, we're in talks with, we're bringing back a fellowship with the Whitney around the area of digital asset management. So we're really excited to have that one back. The Whitney is, just a short walk from here, which is really super convenient. But yeah, so you'll see a lot of these will be back, and then we'll have some new ones back that will be coming back into rotation as well. So we're super excited about it. It's a combination of with archives fellowships, we have UX fellowships, there's children's fellowships, we got some working with users at the Brooklyn Public Library Center for Brooklyn History. So lots of good stuff going on. Some of our Brooklyn Museum ones might be reduced, but there's a big shakeup going on over there. But we will see. Anyways, we also do offer financial aid in the form of federal financial aid. So the FAFSA, we do all that for domestic students. And definitely, if you have any questions about FAFSA, we have a person based here at our student financial services counselor. She's always happy to answer questions, and she's here throughout on the 7th floor. So definitely, if you have questions, that's great. I would say, so as I mentioned earlier, all of our classes are offered here at this building here in Manhattan, what we call Pratt Manhattan Center. But definitely as a school of information student, you also do have access to the full resources of the Brooklyn campus, which is kind of more of a traditional college environment with kind of, freestanding buildings and a gym, freestanding library, pathways, walkways, that kind of stuff. If that is of interest to you. But we don't really do any events there other than new student orientation. We've tended to start doing our new student orientation there. We started that during COVID because there's a lot of outdoor space, and so we could do events outside. But so we do that. But other than that, everything happens here in this building. Yeah, so just some application information. Like if you do want to apply, it's pretty easy. It's pratt.edu/apply. when you apply, you do need 2 letters of reference. This could be it could be a professor, but it could be someone who's worked with you before, as long as it's not a close family member, that's fine. A statement of intent, this is really where you take us through what your goals are and why this program helps address what you're trying to do goals wise. Unofficial transcripts from all of colleges you've attended. So that an unofficial transcript is just like a PDF from your college's system, a photocopy, that's fine. But if you do decide to enroll, we do need official transcripts, but for the application stage, we don't need official transcripts, just, PDF is fine. We don't require GRE for any of our programs, and we never have. So that is something to make you happy. Because I took the GRE, wasn't a pleasant experience.
It's a good too, a long time ago.
I took the GMAT, I took the GRE, I took them all. Yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, I would say, so our classes start late August. I believe the first day of the class is that Monday in August, which should be August 25th. We are still taking applications. We haven't closed any programs. Our priority application deadline was January 5th, but we are continuing to accept applications until all programs fill up. We are also still giving out scholarships. We do also have, which isn't on this slide, we do have a spring semester, or people who could, we have it where you can start in January. Start in the spring semester. So that's another option if you want to kind of start later. And that usually the application deadline for that is October 1st to start in late January. So, if that's of interest to you, we basically do admission twice a year, both for the fall and the spring.
All right, you didn't think about the criteria for the scholarship and.
Yeah, so I would say the criteria are, we look at things like undergraduate GPA. We look at, what else do we look at? We look at your statement, does it, does it align well? Is it put together with, some creativity and communicate well, right? So, is it written well? We look at, other things we look at, interestingly, we're gonna have to start working. We of course, like many colleges of higher education, got emails from the Federal Department of Education last week. But we did look at things that we are looking at things like being from a historically underrepresented minority group. We look at diversity among peers. These are all things we've done for years. But suddenly might be some, we'll have to see what is going on, because it turns out that a lot of things are under fire right now, in terms of being able to do that. So we will be looking into that, but traditionally those were things that we looked at. So we looked at, so those are some of the main things I would say that we look at in determining the scholarship, but yeah. Other questions? All right, so I'm happy to, we're pretty much moving into questions at this point. I have a question. Why don't we see folks in the room have questions, and I'll go ahead and switch my attention over to folks on Zoom. But if you have a question on Zoom, go for it. Go ahead and put it in there, and I will get to you. But folks in the room first, you guys have questions about any of these programs, about admissions, about any of that good stuff? Yes.
Just more of a logistic question, I guess. Is there a way to know or check when the programs fill up for application?
Yes, so pretty much there won't be much notice. We will just like close the application. Yeah, so I would say one thing you'd want to do is, if you are considering wanting to apply to one of these programs, is just like get your application started. You don't have to like submit it, but just like get log in, put your name in, and that way you start getting reminders, and we haven't registered that you're kind of in the pipeline. Because then at that point we can start to email folks and say like, hey, like we're closing this application at the end of March, please, that kind of thing, and you can, And you'll already be in the process. But, yeah.
And is there a difference in terms of like scholarship consideration if you apply for, like starting later, like you said, like if you apply for the October 1st deadline, is there a difference in like your eligibility?
No, there shouldn't be. So for spring, we also do, for spring admissions, we do the same process, apply the same. Folks get scholarships at that. I would say though that in terms of fall though, I mean, the further out you get from January 5th, the scholarship money starts to dwindle. So right now, we're still in February, we're still pretty good at the scholarships, but like say for example, by May or, June, like there might not be any scholarship money left. So if programs do stay open that late, they're likely to not come with the scholarship. So I would definitely say, if you're interested in joining one of these programs in the fall, definitely you want to get your application in because it does, that scholarship money starts to kind of run out at a certain point. Yes, first and second.
I had two questions. The first one was, for me, I'm interested in like digital archives and digital humanities. And I guess I'm just wondering, because it's a field that is like changing a lot pretty quickly, how does the program, I guess, deal with that and professors and everything?
Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah, so definitely like the digital archives, that's a space that I work in. So, I've definitely working in that area for, oh my gosh, maybe the last 15, 20 years. Yeah, I would say, with all of our faculty, we, that's kind of our job is to stay on top of things, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're really paid to do and stay on top of our fields. So we're always, so I would say like among our faculty, they're constantly traveling to conferences to learn what's new. They're very active in the field, publishing, and so that they really get around a lot. So generally that's what you'll find is that they're, I would say for the part-time faculty as well, who are more, kind of out there practicing. I mean, they're all kind of leaders in their field, right? So, for example, in our digital archives class, I normally teach it every semester. Although this spring I let one of my colleagues teach it, and he's the digital archivist for the New York Philharmonic. And I have to say, I mean, they've been very successful in like all their digital initiatives. They've gotten a lot of funding from the Leon Levy Foundation to do all kinds of digital archival kinds of stuff. And so, like they kind of get to, generally we have folks who are kind of on the leading edge of like the field. So, yeah, I mean, that's our, we put a lot of effort into trying to stay at the cutting edge. So yeah, I would say definitely, especially in the archives area, that's, and let's say any of the areas we really teach on, we are pretty much, and we try to stay on the cutting edge. I'll toot my own horn. I just wrote a paper that was published on like AI and archives, which is like, okay, everyone's writing about AI, but like, but you've got to stay on top of it. And, a lot of, we're interviewing faculty as well, and, AI and all this stuff is all kind of part of the mix, so, yeah, I definitely, that's something I would not worry about is, we have people who are definitely very, like, on the, like, the latest, and, you definitely, like, you'll definitely get the latest, so yeah, definitely not worried about that.
And then the same question, wondering if you have any, like, interesting like student projects that you're getting on or that seem exciting?
Yeah. So the student project, so definitely if you are interested in, if you're interested in student projects, I do want to invite you all to our annual showcase of student work. It's called, every part of Pratt has what's called a Pratt show, and they're, so you can find the website here. It's just Pratt shows. And what it is pretty much every program does a show of some kind related to their work. And so Pratt is largely an art and design school. So a lot of exhibitions. So there's a big design show. There's a big fashion show also. But our show is down here called Info Show, and it's kind of run more like a conference. And so there's posters, presentations, so forth, and you can, you can check out projects. And there is also, if you can find out, we have pretty much a pretty comprehensive inventory of the various like projects through programs on our website. So if you just check out in Google, honestly, if you just type info show, we're like the only info show, we're number one. But you could see like, so last year's show, for example, like here's the program here, for example, and you can kind of check out the kinds of things that people are working on. So a lot of this is work from student classes, so like, for example, yeah, so there should be a decent amount of information on these projects. Here. So check this out. So we also give out awards at info shows, so for best projects. So these are usually like the creme of the creme. Like we do an award for best individual, best group project, best poster, and then there's the People's Choice Award where people who come to the show. But you can see what these are what people thought were what. So a lot of there's a judging panel for these, and you can see the kind of stuff that people thought was really good. So this project, I have to say, they got all over the place with this project. This was a digital humanities project, and they really kind of went to several conferences presenting on it. And many of these folks are, really, they really, really worked out very well for them. So like someone like, Gabrielle Evergreen, for example, who, she's a research data librarian at Cornell, for example, so she, was doing this and was able to transition into that work right away. So yeah, I think, definitely check out this website. It's got all projects going all the way back to our first showcase in 2011. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff, it gives you a sense of the kinds of work that's going on here. Yes, we had a question for us.
I don't know, mine is like too specific to ask now, but I've been working on my application and I had my transcript sent over, and my old college only does official transcripts. And there's no way for me to like open it or look at it or like determine if it's actually there or not. Like I got an email from the service that sends it, that Pratt received it. But when I look at my actual application, I can't tell if it's there or not.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would, so a lot of it is handled through the admissions office.
Yeah.
Let me.
I did email them.
Okay, you did. Yeah, I would say there's admissions at Pratt.edu, which is like, it's kind of like, every undergrad, it's just a lot. But, the person that might be really, Patricia Hughes, she's the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions. I would shoot her an email, just be like, hey, my college sent official transcripts. I don't have access to unofficial transcripts. Can you just,
Yeah.
can you open them and like, slide?
There's still, like there's still some that needs to be completed, like my exact start date, end date, and my GPA, which like I don't remember. So, so yeah, I don't know how to get that information other than like calling my old school which is fine, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. I mean, in the worst case, you could almost get two transcripts, like one is like your personal and official, so you have that information and then
That's
sent to
true,
your
yeah.
house, and then the one that you might.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of, especially applying to graduate school, you're getting a lot of questions about GPA,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it isn't, it can be, these days it's important to know that stuff really well and represent it well, because these days, like especially when you apply for jobs, they do these education checks. And they'll be like, wait, hold on, you said you had this, but you know what I mean? You're like, I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
thought it was a 3.7, I didn't know it was a 3.65, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Anyways, yes,
From what I'm seeing, the group doing the data visualization is a smaller group. But how many, on average, how many people per class? I mean, I don't, what might be the room with, you know, no one else, like, so does the class fill up and how many people would you expect to be involved in it? And how many people would be in each class section?
yeah, so I would say our average class is between 11 and 12 students. So, generally, you know, if we have small class sizes, you know, they do, in some core classes go up to 18, most cap at 15, most of our elective courses, all of our elective courses cap at 15. But I would say, like, numbers wise, it works out to about between 11 and 12. So like, you know, this is not like an unusual size class, like for us, you know, like this wouldn't be an unusual size. So yeah, but we don't, you know, we don't do any, there's no large lecture halls, there's, you know, it's all pretty much kind of pretty small, yeah.
Yeah, I had another question, about the credits. You said people are done to the 3. Is it possible to take more credits at a time, more classes at a time?
You could, you know, pretty much what it does is it speeds your program up a little bit. And, you know, generally what we try to suggest to people though is like, don't speed it up too much. Because, you know, pretty much during that time, you're kind of, you know, you're taking courses, but you're also like developing knowledge and relationships and skills, and you're making connections and you're attending events and you're, you know, you're kind of learning a lot just through that time. So if you go through the program too quickly, you might find yourself, oh, I got a master's degree, I'm done. But like maybe you're not quite where you want to be. So what we generally find is like with, you know, the 2-year program, you know, you're kind of, especially, you know, we have a lot of students hitting the job market right now, right? So it's February, they're going to be graduating in May, they're hitting the job market now. And, you know, at this point, they're feeling pretty, you know, they kind of know their stuff, right? Because they've kind of, you know, they've you know, started in the fall, the spring, they have the summer, maybe they're interning, now they're back here, you know, and they're, you know, and they have another fall. So yeah, they're, you know, they're doing pretty well. So I would say, yes, you can go faster, but you know, the real question is it could not, it doesn't necessarily behoove you to go faster, you know, I mean, so.
What if you just want to take more electives, would just cost more to pay for everything for credit?
Everything is per credit, yeah, so you could keep going, no one says you have to leave at 36 credits. You could stick around, but yeah, it is, but for most, I would say everyone pretty much leaves when they, no one really sticks around. But you can if you want. Other questions that folks might have? I look at the questions on Zoom, so let me see what folks on Zoom have. Okay, so Glenda asks, I'm interested in the certificate archives. I have a master's degree in humanities, not library science. So I would say the advanced certificate archives, we do require you to have a ALA accredited master's degree. And that's really because that program does kind of build off of that degree in terms of the knowledge and skills in areas like reference, knowledge organization. So unfortunately, yeah, we really do need an ALA accredited degree to gain admission to the archive certificate. So sorry about that. Abby asks, if you're admitted for fall 24, is it possible to get a head start on classes in summer 24? Admitted for, is it possible to get? Yeah, you could. Doesn't happen much, but I think you could. We don't have a large summer semester. We have about, well, maybe offer about 4 or 5 courses. We only really offer electives in the summer. But yeah, I think we could, if that's something you really want to do, but it's a small list, you know, we might have 4 classes. But if you want to do that, we probably could work with you on that. Linda asks, are credits given for work experience? No, unfortunately, we do not do that. Alex asks, I noticed that the Pratt website mentions scholarships covering up to 80% of tuition, but during the session it was stated as 50. Could you clarify if there's been a recent change in these amounts? Unfortunately, yes. So we were doing up to 80%. tuition. Now we basically given out too much scholarship money. Our finances are very tight. So for this fall, we're gonna have to go back down to 50% scholarships. So it was good while it lasted, but unfortunately, our finances have taken a hit from giving it so much discount. So unfortunately, I will say this fall it is going to be 50%. So I'm sorry about that, but I'll have to update the web, find where that is on the website and update it. But yeah, it is definitely, and this is new information. It's just really just the last few weeks, it's really become clear that we have to reduce our scholarships back down to 50%. All right, T asks, can you please share about standard English test requirements for international students and whether you give waivers? Standard English test requirements for international. Yeah, so there are some waivers. So we do generally require the TOEFL, but however, if you have done if you graduated from a US university in the last year or so, you can get a waiver. But otherwise, yeah, so here's the website. This is the actual policy on it. Yeah, so English proficiency. So if your roles are completed within the last 2 years, so say you went to NYU or Parsons or what, if you've graduated in the last 2 years with a master's or bachelor's degree, you don't need the TOEFL. But yeah, but if if it's completed with it, yeah, you're fine. But say you're yeah. So definitely check out this webpage. This will have all the kind of the waiver rules on it. So if the country you're from is like English is the national language, or your first language is English. So definitely check out this webpage. All right, so any other questions that folks might have? Yes.
I'm curious about the typical level of experience that students come in with beginning the program, like professional or academic experience, usually see every student.
Yeah, I would say, and you're interested in the archives program. So I would say, our average student. So we're going to get to really detailed statistics on our library information science program online. And so while it doesn't talk about experience, it does talk about age. So our average LIS student is, sorry, demographics. All right, so I would say our average LIS student is 28.5 years old. So I would say kind of what we generally see is we see people who graduate from college and then have been doing various kinds of work for the last several years. A lot of it not so much in library information science, some of it in publishing, other kinds of related areas, and then are wanting to kind of come back because maybe they had a great a lot of times people had college experience, they're experiencing college, working in an archive or library. And they're kind of making that transition. So I would say we do have we have folks who are right out of college. We have folks who are coming back after maybe raising children. But I would say on average, it's really the most typically it's people who kind of graduate from college and worked a few years, 3, 4 years, 5 years, and are coming back. So yeah, you definitely see that in our demographics here. We have a Zoom question here. Let's see here. So, okay. Not a question, but thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. All right, so any other questions before we go on our tour? Sounds like no more questions. All right, so thank you for attending. We're going to go ahead and go on our tour. So on Zoom, you can join us on our tour as well. I'm gonna bring you with my phone so you can see the various spaces we have here. Although Dean does have one more question, which is, does the information experience design program include programming and technical skills? Does it prerequisites requirements for those skills? I would say the information experience design program, it does require everyone to take our core information technology course, which does get into some of the basics of programming, but it does not actually go terribly far. But we do have a lot of technical skills after that that you could do, and things like programming in Python, programming in PHP, doing databases, doing programming user interfaces, which is doing a lot of front-end programming with JavaScript and so forth on the front-end side. I would say, in this program, you can go pretty deep in terms of just like the tech and the programming. Although I would say a lot of our students are kind of see themselves more as designers and in fact don't do a lot of the kind of super tech stuff. But if you want to do the super tech stuff, you can do it for sure. And we definitely have the classes and, I would say with this program, we do say that, you don't need to be a web developer so much, but you do need to know how to work with computer programmers. So of course, the more you know about computer programming, the better you're going to be at being able to communicate with those other groups. That's going to be an advantage. So I think it's a good thing to do those courses, quite honestly. But I would say it's not everyone's jam, but if it's your jam, go for it. And I think it will work out for you. I'm an old school computer programmer. I used to, make user interfaces and do programming back in the 90s, and it's always been a good thing to know how to do. So I would say go for it. All right, any other questions before we go on our nifty tour? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my phone. And for those of you in the room, you probably want to bring your stuff just because it's, it's right? Our security is pretty good here, but you never know. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing. I'm going to go ahead and sign on. All right, we are now on my phone. All right, so welcome to Pratt Manhattan Center. And a little bit about this building. So we moved into here. This building dates from about 1905, I believe, and we've been here since 2002. When we moved in, we gut renovated the entire place, and it's been gut renovated twice since we've been here. So there were some renovations that went on during COVID, and then there was then of course the renovations when we first moved in. So this is one of the renovated spaces. And this is just kind of like a lounge area, the building's open till 1 a.m. during the week. So it's a place you can come and just like get some work done and, kind of a home away from home to get away from annoying roommates and so forth. I realized I totally was not pointing. I was pointing the camera at my chin. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, here's that space. But yeah, I would say, like a space like this we'll use for big events like our info show that I mentioned. We'll take over this kind of lecture hall space over here. Actually, I could swipe into here, but yeah, you don't have to go in here, but I'll just flip the lights on so you can, kind of a, with all the chairs out, it's like a great space for like parties and events, and so we'll definitely use it for that. But yeah, I mean, everything looks kind of new. Everything looks new because it is pretty new. So maybe so this is the second floor. On the first floor, there's an art gallery, which is kind of Pratt's art gallery. There's a show up there right now about Black fashion designers and is up through March. It is closing out, closes at 5, but definitely if you're in the neighborhood, feel free to stop in. It's open, I think 6 days of the week, and it's a pretty great show, highlighting the work of some really great fashion designers. If you're into fashion, I've come to realize I'm not as into fashion as some people, but yeah. Uh, so maybe we'll kind of maybe start heading kind of up the building. So this is I would say, third floor. There's another department there, nothing interesting. We're going to go ahead and hit the fourth floor, which has our satellite library. For It's kind of the School of Information Library. So go ahead. Oh, good. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. December. It's a bit more cramped. So this is a space that wasn't renovated during COVID, but what's interesting about it is our library here. So it's a small space, but it has pretty much a lot of really relevant stuff related to the School of Information. It's kind of I actually had someone here a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, it's a library about libraries." I'm like, "Yes, you're right. It is." And so a lot of stuff is bought electronically these days, but things that we can't get electronically is still bought and kind of brought here. So we can do a quick little walkthrough. Hello, prospective students. I kind of always like these are like new books over here, which I always kind of like seeing what people are reading. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Student employment opportunity.
Yeah. There's lots of student employment opportunities. I believe the person at the desk is a student employee. We have graduate assistants, hourly employee. Most of the student employment opportunities are working with faculty on research, but there's working in the library. There's working in various offices. Yeah, and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent on student employees to work here at Pratt. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of that.
Thank you.
Lots and lots. Yeah.
Is it possible even in the first year to find a job with a
Student employee.
research assistant or something?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have actually, and that's actually more common. We have a lot of people who will take a job here, like when they first get here, and then they'll, within like by that first summer, they're often jumping off to do something more lucrative. So, you're a student, right?
Yes,
Yes. See there, yes.
It's my last semester.
Last semester. So your position will be vacated for someone in the
Yeah,
fall.
actually, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe all the GA positions here are in their last semester, all four of us.
So a whole new crop of jobs.
Yeah, and then there's GA positions, graduate assistant positions at the Brooklyn Library available as well. So it just depends on like what's more convenient, like what you're more interested in, like what opportunities they have available for students. Obviously I have my classes here in Manhattan. I also live in Manhattan. So like I was like that was my preference, but some people that live in Brooklyn, even if they have classes here, that might be their preference. So that also works out for some students I know.
Cool.
It's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you. And then of course you can have one of these lovely buttons
Yes,
here.
please.
There.
Please. I have a few of my own that I love them, so please take them.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a button maker, so that we can move.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much. I don't remember your name.
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Did I lose some people? The buttons were too popular.
Yeah.
Sometimes I lose, sometimes I lose people and then, you know, yeah, feel free to, if you wanna, you kind of, yeah, I mean, feel free to, come back in there when the tour is over. So I think we'll skip six, or sorry, we'll skip five, which is a lot of computer classrooms are there, art IT, is there, so they're nice rooms, but there's nothing really interesting. So, all right, so this is the sixth floor, and this I would say is kind of the hub of the school where most of our classes take place. A lot of our classes take place, although we do classes on 7, 5, 2. But this is kind of, there's a lot of classes going on. I hear classes, faculty leave their doors open to their classes, so then it kind of spills, all the sound kind of spills out into the hallway. So that's kind of what you hear here. But yeah, so this space here, we call this the info lounge, and it's a place where it's kind of the lobby, but it's also a place to get a little bit of work done in between classes. Um, and is that you, Natalie, over there? Yes. Yes. Natalie is one of our kind of more senior LS students, and she's going on the Rome trip. So yes. Yeah. She's
Exciting.
Yeah, so she's getting out of here. And the nice thing about Rome is the spring starts a little earlier there. So I'm hoping, like last year, people were going around without jackets and stuff. So yeah, so hopefully you guys get good weather. Um but so just to give you you can see a bunch of classes are going on here. So like down the hallway, I hear Nick Krabenhoff. He's the head of digital preservation at the New York Public Library. So he's teaching his digital preservation and curation class. Next to it over here, we have, gosh, I, I don't even know. I don't think that's instructor. That's a student presenting. But oh, you know what? This is a reference and instruction class with Romel Espinel as the instructor. We have nothing going on in here. Oh, we have a digital archives class going on in here. This is kind of like, this room has a lot of like equipment for digital archives, like digitization, vintage, legacy, like kind of digitization equipment in there. And so they're, I believe they're doing a radio digitalization project with the Lesbian History Archives this semester. So that's cool stuff. In here is Claudia Berger. She's an alum. She's teaching us our digital humanities class, which is actually really popular this semester. Usually there's only like 6 people who are in it, but I think the course has got like 12 or 14 people. So it's looking good. So feel free to kind of peek your head. But you kind of get a sense classes are generally quite small. They're not these kind of huge things. Which one? This one here? Digital humanities. Yeah. So Claudia, she's a digital humanities librarian at Sarah Lawrence College. She also graduated with the digital humanities certificate and LIS degree from here, probably in about 2022 or so. And it is maybe before, maybe 2020. And so she's back to teach that class. So yeah, kind of, I would say, all up and down the hallways, you'll see posters of student work. These are things that might have been presented at Info Show, our annual showcase. They might be presented at conferences. We do fund students to present their work at conferences, so you can see some of that. But most of it's probably Info Show, some class projects as well. This is kind of a cool space in here. This space is kind of like it's like a very student-centric space where like students can book it and use it for whatever they want. And it looks like they're actually using it for something, actually making something in there. But it's also become kind of a bit of our wellness space because we have like a massage chair in here. You can kind of see it off in the corner there, but it's only been here since December, but it does definitely get used because I come in the morning and I like I get to, people, there's a lava lamp. People left the lava lamp on, and it's like the chairs like has this. Someone forgot to turn it off, so it's like still reclined. um, lots of student projects up and down the hallways. So we're like this is more of an IT centric class where you're doing a lot of stuff with IT. I believe this is probably our core information technology course. Here we have Diana Pan, who is the former CIO or CTO, CIO of the Museum of Modern Art, and now she's the CIO for I forget the name of the organization, but she's a great professor. Um, so let's head on back. So back in these here parts is the a lot of our faculty offices are back here. So as I mentioned, we have about 14 full-time faculty, and then and they have offices here, and you can come for office hours and talk about your career goals and how that the curriculum can support that. Um, yeah, so like I know Professor Carbone, she's in there. She's one of our archives faculty. She's the one who does a lot of stuff with art and archives. So I almost want to barge in there, but that's like totally embarrassing, right? To just like barge in. But so yeah, faculty offices, more faculty back here. This is kind of an interesting space for, I know many of you here aren't interested so much, not so much in the UX area, but this is another space people can book. And this is really for folks to bring in people to do UX studies. So, testing users on interfaces, like eye tracking studies. We also did just in this room, we have this course, brand new course called Automotive UX. And so these are for people who want to design interfaces for cars. And so we actually do have like a little driving setup over here that we just, which I know this looks good. This looks like this is for fun, but this is actually like a class thing, right? So this iPad, for example, is kind of here to kind of, like in the Tesla where there's that big screen. This is kind of really why this is here. So yeah, so it's kind of like a mini driving simulator that you can that's being used by our automotive UX course. So yes, down here you could see some like recent faculty publications, like papers, and then also books. And we always have people publishing new stuff. Like this book literally came in the mail today. So Professor Chivukula, Universal Methods, and like it's literally, it's been here for all of like 4 hours. But you could see, the kinds of stuff people are publishing, articles up here. And down here, the interesting thing about this wall here is that we do have 5 student chapters of national organizations, and they put on events and do all kinds of fun stuff to it basically gives the students opportunity to create a club and then do stuff that you want to do that might not be happening in the classroom. And so we definitely have stuff going on there, like the Society of American Archivists chapter is pretty engaged. Emerging Museum Professional Group, they're a pretty active group as well. The UXPA, these are the user experience group. They're definitely super active as well. And we're always, running different events and so forth. So that aren't even connected with student groups. So like this is a book talk we have coming on at the end of the month around AI proofing your career, um, which is I've heard from people they're like nervous about that. And so we have someone who's someone who wrote a book about that, and she's going to come and talk about that. But yeah, so lots of we have other events always going on, faculty speakeasies, all kinds of stuff. There's also events like that are more social, like there's a spring graduates formal that's happening here March 1st. I don't know exactly what is involved, but there's a number of parties and events and stuff like that that are always going on. And it's one of the good things about being in an in-person program is we do have that. There's social events, there's parties. It's not just Zoom. You're not on Zoom all the time. Yeah, so what else we have? Here's our admin office where we kind of, run things. We're open till 7 o'clock at night. And so people can come in here if they have any admin issue they need, and we're happy to help with that. So we're gonna hit one last floor, which is the 7th floor. I would say we are we're also engaged in a process of what's called strategic planning. So this poster here is we're collecting feedback from the community about what the future of the school is over the next 5 years. So you can see people are leaving post-it notes about what, the responding to this draft plan. So all right, so our final stop on our tour is here on the 7th floor. So this is one of these spaces that was renovated during COVID as well. And so what it has is we call it the Pratt Manhattan Student Union, where you could kind of just hang out in between classes. But there's like, you can get food. There's like a farmer's fridge in this kind of room over here. But then also what we have up here is student services offices. So this is like any kind of service that's not a professor. So it's like health counseling, disability services, financial aid, they're all kind of up here. And so like, you need anything from them, you can pretty much meet with them up here. But yeah, up here, there's also a bunch of classrooms and so forth, but it is kind of a student space where you can kind of just kind of hang out and, chill out. I know those are some School of Information students. Probably a break in between class and they're, trying to get something to eat quickly.
That's the closest thing there is to a cafeteria.
That is the closest thing. Yeah, there's no real cafeteria. There is a West Side Market across the street, and so and an Elm Health, which has a lot of like pre-made food, so you can just like go in there and grab it. But this is a kind of is a good option. I eat out of it. Yeah, so cool. So that is pretty much our tour, but I am happy to stick around and answer any questions for those in person or for those of you online. I hope you have a great night and